Welcome to Fireteam chat, everybody. Happy holidays.
Indeed.
Yeah, we're recording a few episodes ahead of time, so you have an episode on Christmas. You get your Fireteam chat show from IGN. So happy holidays, everybody. Yeah, we planned ahead.
I hope you put bells in the background right now and snowflake sounds. And
With the holiday theme, we're going to talk about our wishes for Destiny. Joining me to talk about this is Fran Mirabella.
Hey, everyone.
And Sean Finnegan.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So, guys, it's a holiday.
It's a Guardian Christmas, everyone.
It's a Guardian Christmas.
I don't know what that means, but...
And for the holidays, we're going to talk about our wishes for Destiny 2. So these are big picture items that we would like to see implemented for the sequel of Destiny, or Destiny Year 3, as you pointed out.
As everyone's listening right now, I hope that they did my biggest wish for right now, which is the ugly Christmas vest for your Guardian, which is like blinking lights and a horrible design that we can all wear around the tower.
So the Sparrow outfits.
Yeah, no way, they look great.
Did you see the photo that I tweeted out of my
It's like
Sparrow?
a mishmash.
It's super pink and like really colorful and yellow and blue. It's ugly.
Oh, mine's on
so
lockdown,
great.
man. I got Tristesse shader with my Arc Runner. It's dope.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so this is not about that.
Yeah, definitely not about that. I hope you guys are all having a happy holiday. First up, my wishes for Destiny 2.
Or Year 3 big update, whatever.
Yeah, whatever Year 3.
The $60 game, if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because as a reminder, Taken King Year 2 was technically, about $45 or whatever.
$40.
You didn't have to, well, that was if you owned Year 1, but you get the idea.
So my big wish for Year 2 is an overhauled Crucible system. Crucible is one of my favorite aspects of Destiny, actually. There's problems there with lag and stuff once in a while, but overall, it is a great experience. Yeah. I would like to see Destiny 2 improve that experience with things that Bungie did with Halo. For example, imagine if you could make custom playlists in the Crucible and set up your own modifiers, like have Rift, but like maybe there's 2 rifts, like you make like a capture the flag sort of game type, just kind of community driven set pieces
on your own server as well.
Custom games, custom
dedicated server.
Yeah, definitely. What if you could make maps like in Forge, like take elements of the Destiny world and make like really cool maps? That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
They did it with Halo, what was it? 3?
Yeah.
Halo 3 had the Forge map maker for the first time.
And I mean, as much as, I played so much. I think of all of the Halos, I think Halo 3 is the one that I played the most, and a huge part of my multiplayer experience was definitely involved with the Forge. Me and my friends, like, jumping into a map, like, sourcing items, building structures, playing the maps. Sometimes it would be like, let's make an actual balanced map that we would love to play, and sometimes it'd just be total nonsense. Well, let's put, like, this tiny, tiny map, but put, like, 3 scorpions in it, and it's just a lot of fun. It can get super crazy. I mean, with how detailed the environments and world is in Destiny, do you think that tool like that could even be built?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think they would probably need a new engine from the one that they're using.
Because even just to point it out, in Halo 5, the Forge maps definitely look like, in terms of their design and detail, a step lower than the officially licensed 343 multiplayer maps. Not a concern because they all play really well, but at least for me, but a lot of community members have voiced, hey, these don't look as cool as the other ones. You think that'd be a concern?
You're talking about 3, right?
No, I'm talking about 5 now.
Oh, 5.
It's talking about 5. Just a lot of the community maps, like especially the first 2 that launched officially and were made, like 343 kind of helped with those. They weren't great. I think they actually pulled them from Halo 5 eventually. Like they just took them out of rotation. You could still play them, but...
Well, so it's a little bit strange. With the Battle of Shadow and Light, which is the name of the update, which introduced Big Team Battle, the 4 Forge/343 maps that were designed were Big Team Battle maps specifically. So they had their own playlist. That's kind of the big difference. But with how flexible the tool Forge is, you just kind of lose out a little bit on super high detail and like really finely tuned like shrubbery and caves and detail just in the environment that makes the maps feel as immersive as they are.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool to have that in Destiny, but I worry you may have the same effect that Halo 5 has had as a result of that.
Those are some challenges that the Halo franchise has faced, but like for the Destiny world, Bungie has built the Forge Maker already.
Yeah.
They know what works and what doesn't and what the community wants. So they could improve upon that.
Map making and community maps would be cool, obviously.
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer. When you said it, I hadn't even been thinking about it. So, but what are you trying to, say, fix, for example? So you think, there's not enough good maps or...
No, I think the maps are really great, actually. I mean, if you're looking at technical things that they need to fix, there's a lot of server issues right now. Last few daily matches, I've just been kicked near the end of the match. Then I come back in, and I have 0 points, and then the match ends, then I get my marks, and I'm just like, that's kind of a mess. A lot of the beetle and errors, etc., like that whole server side thing, those are improvements that they need to make. Overall, I feel like the multiplayer playing field is pretty even. If they could balance weapons from the start, though, like launch Destiny 2 with a really balanced weapon structure, maybe one or two.
What does balance mean, though, for you?
Just even. So, like, autos can go toe-to-toe with Pulse, because right now Pulse rifles, like, just decimate everything. And how it's supposed to work is, like, Pulse and Scouts, like, Pulse are, like, medium range, Scouts are supposed to be long range, but that's just not how it works. So I think they would have to, like, look at the weapon infrastructure that they've built with Destiny 1 and kind of reevaluate for the sequel.
Like, the improvements that they've made recently, I think, are noticeable. And it's hard, but I find you get this impression that, well, I can't use whatever this Scout right now because now I'm playing up really close, so I should have just used Last Word or whatever. But that's sort of the whole reality of understanding how you play on each map, right? Yeah. Different maps, different weapons, different play styles that you have to figure out. I'm not saying that it's totally balanced. Yeah. What I mean is I do think it has a pretty decent balance. Like I was just rocking it with Monte Carlo the other night. No problem going toe-to-toe with the shotgunners, the pulse rifle folks.
Yeah. Well,
it depends on the map, and how you're playing that night.
Yeah, they got rid of shotguns as king, in the Crucible recently. Yeah. But, I mean, brutal,
they're still get wrecked in trials by shotguns.
Yeah, there's still weapons that, are king. Like, it's like you use these weapons or these weapons if you want to win. And that's still kind of an issue. I would like to see that kind of smoothed out a little more. It's something they've been working on with Destiny 1. And I think really they would need, like, a new engine. They'd have to, like, have... new weapon types would be great. Like dual wielding was introduced in Halo 2. That was
I want it on the record that I think dual wielding ruined Halo 2, so I do not want that. Okay. But I like where your head's at. I think, to me, I've said this before on the show, or maybe it was on Unlocked, but I've definitely said it on the record before that to me, balance doesn't mean, especially in a competitive game, balance doesn't mean that everything's viable. What it means is that the playing field can be even, all things considered equal. So, for instance, Halo 1, I think, is perfectly balanced, even if the pistol is superbly overpowered. Why? Because everyone has that pistol. Yeah. So if you're not using it, then you're being a detriment to your team by not using it. I think Destiny, as it stands right now, most of the weapons are pretty viable. Like Fran pointed out, it's situational. It depends on the map. It depends on where you're fighting and what you're trying to do and what role you're playing on your team. But there's only a few standout options that seem a little like they're a little bit broken. Like shotguns still aren't completely fixed. I get wrecked by them with trials.
Yeah. Like when Thorn
like a
was
fusion.
king. Yeah.
But you see, that was the thing is like, I liked that. I actually thought...
I did too.
I actually thought that era of House of Wolves, the Thorn Last Word era, that's the most balanced Destiny's ever been because everyone used Thorn or Last Word.
Yeah.
It made it perfectly balanced.
We both are a little
Everyone
biased.
had it.
We all both are a little biased because we love the pistols. We just like how they fired. We like how they controlled. And shotguns were severely broken in that era.
So like I think, shotguns were broken, but I actually think it was more Blink that was broken. It was more Blink shotgun than it was just shotguns. And again, that's the thing is, to me, that's balance. Why? Because if you know shotguns are overpowered, go find the best shotgun, and then you're now overpowered, and you're on the same level playing field as the guy who you thought was imbalanced, right?
I don't know. It's tough. Like, you want to feel like you have a chance, and that's where it does get tricky. Like, some weapons are going to be the best.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it's designed. And to your point, yeah, you can't just keep using some shotgun that you want
if it's
not as good as the other
not as
one.
good, yeah.
So you have to adapt. So either, you know what I mean? So
I'm glad you made that point, because I think that's the big distinction. Is I don't think it's a fair argument philosophically to be like, this game's not balanced because I can't use X terrible weapon because I like it and expect to win. Like, that's not balanced.
Yeah, you should have a chance. That's part of the point of things. Sometimes people feel like helpless.
But
that's
I mean,
where
I
there's
think
so
people
many
do.
weapons.
I talked about it before, but I played against a guy in Trials whose name was No Land Beyond, and he only used No Land Beyond, and he wrecked us all.
Yeah.
Like, we won eventually because good teamwork can, but he killed us so many times. We were like, this guy, dude, he's just like a savant with that terrible weapon. And I think like that's a good example of where you have a chance for the most part, I think, with guns if you know how to play right.
Yep.
And Destiny launched with vehicles. You may have forgotten, but there was a movement that was actually fun. I would love to see vehicles again.
I got the moon map. It was in rotation.
No way.
I did, yeah.
Really?
I haven't gotten it ever.
And it was awesome because there were so many new players that had no idea what was going on.
They're like, is this a new map?
Yeah,
like,
they
this
were
is so cool.
And that's actually, I went in and tested my old, I brought back my Purifier 7, which was my favorite Fusion. This was when they rebalanced. I was like, all right, let me hop in. Yeah, and I got the moon map, and man, I was just like wrecking shop because I think people were pretty confused at like where people were
what are these
from.
turrets? What's a tank? There's a tank.
But that's when I tested, I was just like wrecking shop. I was like, fusions are awesome again, but I think it was just that.
That was a fun map because you had to use your supers to get rid of the tanks. Snipers were all over the place. There were some really great sniper spots. I missed that.
The idea was there, definitely, and I agree. They need more of that. Like, it'd be great to have a map like that works, that didn't feel like it lasted forever and started to become tedious, which it started to.
So to wrap up my wish for Destiny 2, that would be vehicular maps, maps that people can make, and customized matchmaking.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I mean, Bungie hit the trifecta with Halo back in the day with guns, grenades, vehicles, right?
Yeah.
All of them were perfect in Halo. How are they not in Destiny?
Yeah. Balancing those supers.
They have 2 out of the 3. I love the grenade types. I love the guns.
Yeah.
But the vehicles leave something to be desired. And actually, I've talked about it before, but like it'd be really cool to see vehicles just implemented, not just in Crucible, like you asked, but also I think it'd be really great if we had raid encounters or strikes that were a little bit more vehicle oriented. Like one of your dudes in your, if like let's say it's a strike, right? One of them has to be in a tank laying down cover fire the whole time while other people on the ground are like defusing things or whatever. Something like that would be a cool PvE mechanic that we could see implemented in raids and strikes. Yeah. And it's different.
Sean, let's move on to your topic next.
I think he just did.
Yeah.
No. You were a little bit, so let's go right into it.
So the thing I would love to see in Destiny 2 or whatever this big content drop for Destiny Year 3 would be is improved and deeper RPG mechanics. Like one of the things that I've always said about Destiny is it's this great, awesome shooter that feels good to run around in and shoot the guns, and all of the guns are really unique, but it just kind of takes place in this sort of bland and not so deep RPG framework. Like it aspires to be an MMORPG like World of Warcraft, or have really deep sort of min-maxing mechanics like Diablo 3, but it doesn't quite get there, right? And what I mean is, like, to use a very specific example, I run a Titan, and most of the time in PvE these days I'm running Sunbreaker, but in raids I have to do Defender because Bubble is just incredible, right? But I thought, why don't I run a different Defender build that is less predicated on the bubble and more about this like generating orbs and playing a really aggressive playstyle. And what I would do is use Armor of Light for my bubble, Invective, so I'm always regenerating ammo, and then use Overload, which instantly regenerates your melee, and then every time you melee kill something, it gives you an overshield. And every time you get a shotgun kill, it gives you an overshield.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you just run killing all of the ads, and you generate all these orbs and kill all sorts of ads for your team, and it's just a really highly efficient strike build. Turns out that the shotgun and the melee share the same cooldown, and that is not that's not actually written anywhere. I had to go research that online. And I thought to myself, like, that's a great idea for a build that would change the playstyle of the Defender in the framework that they've given me, but I can't do it. Why can't I do it? In a game like Diablo or World of Warcraft, I would be able to do it because they give players the freedom to tailor the builds to their exact play style and kind of figure out really awesome and new ways to play the classes, which I think is awesome. And I want that because right now as a Titan, you run the same 3 things over and over again, or it used to be 2 things, but now they nerfed Sunbreakers, right? You either ran Sunbreaker or Defender in raids. I mean, you definitely didn't run Sunbreaker in raids. You ran Defender in raids, and in strikes and PvE or PvP.
Yeah, I never saw a striker.
Yeah, now you see them a little bit more because they nerfed Sunbreakers, like I said. But if they could give the same depth that a game, and maybe not even the same depth, because it's difficult to compare World of Warcraft and Diablo to a game like Destiny, right? But even just like if you increase the depth by like 25% or 50% and allowed players to kind of do that min-maxing and theory crafting with how efficient they can be, that would be so much more engaging for those really, really hardcore players who are looking for that experience. And that's what I would love to see in Destiny 2.
Another mechanic you've talked about a lot is transmog.
Transmogrification, another thing that is great in terms of flexibility. Like it really allows you to customize your look, which is, I mean, let's be real, like that's half of what Destiny is like how cool does my Guardian look in this gear, shaders and stuff, right?
And sometimes they look really goofy.
Yeah, and I mean, someone brought it up the other day, but like one of the coolest cloaks is like this level 10 hunter cloak that you get really early on in the game. And
it's a bummer.
You can't use it because your light level would be way too low, right? Like if I could just use the look of that. Oh, and by the way, for those who don't know, transmogrification is just a mechanic that was introduced in Diablo that allows you to...
Diablo or Warcraft first?
I'm pretty sure it was
introduced by Blizzard. Let's stick with that.
Yeah. I don't want to go 100% on the record, but I'm pretty sure it was Diablo. But it
the
allows
examples
you
you're
to,
using are that is the point.
Yeah, it allows you to take the look of one item that you've previously discovered and apply it to another item of the same type. So let's say I discovered that level 10 hunter cloak, and I have this other hunter cloak that's way better. I can use that look on this other one. It costs me like gold or whatever. In Destiny, maybe it's glimmer.
Or
please
silver.
let it be glimmer and not silver, please. But it just allows the game to be a little bit more flexible and tailored to people's play styles and desires in the game. And I think that is what we're looking for that's what I'm looking for in terms of the RPG mechanics. Everything else I think is great. It's fun to shoot, it's fun to run, the vehicles are even pretty cool, the maps are good. There's a good variety there.
It's been a big request for sure. It's like we all have some of our favorite gear. Like I still like the Vault helmet a ton.
Oh yeah.
On Warlock and granted, that's year 1, but let's assume that it was year 2. You probably still wouldn't wear it because of these problems. It'd be like light level 287 or something.
Yeah.
Like, and I run into that all the time.
But like, imagine if you could be like, okay, so right now, basically in raids, I've only been using Smite of Moraine, right? A Harrowed Smite of Moraine. I have a 317. It's pretty. It's
pretty.
It's really good. It's pretty in terms of its look, but it's also really, really good. But what if I used, like, I want to have, okay, well, let's say I have a 315 hung jury, and it's 2 light levels less, but it has Firefly, and if I spec one particular thing, in the long run, maybe its DPS is higher. I want to be able to look at, I want a spreadsheet, man. I want to be able to make spreadsheets on spreadsheets and min-max every little thing so that I can make the most efficient Guardian possible for any particular activity. It's theory crafting, man. Like, that is so much fun. I remember back in the World of Warcraft days, half of the time I played that game, I was tabbing in and out, looking at the forums, being like, wow, how can I play more efficiently? How can I be better at the game? And Destiny just doesn't quite have that depth.
It's close. Yeah. But
I mean, it's really interesting because it's intentionally designed, right, as it's deep enough without confusing or alienating new players. I mean, people come into Destiny as is and they're like, what is a raid? Like, seriously. Like it's a lot of language, it's a lot of stuff. What you're talking about though, I do think is great. But that, to be fair, I think that's the balance they're trying to strike. Like, it's got a skill tree. To your point, it's just not quite, as varied as you want it
Something
to be.
Like this is like total fan service for the hardcore though, like obviously Sean would like it. I think it would be really fun like once you got to that level. And
he's entitled to that. I'm just saying, like, background check.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I get it. Yeah.
It's not, meaning, in other words, I don't think they don't want that either, the hardcore at Bungie who are making this game. But how do you strike that design? But that's where I think either way there's room for improvement in the depth because we all arrive at that certain level. And, like, weapons just sit there dead. Gear goes dead. Because, what I'm wearing predominantly after playing Taken King for, I don't know, 150, 200 hours.
Raid gear.
Well, no, a mix, but mostly, it's like iron companion boots or whatever. But the point is, it is tied to light level. It is not tied to look. And even then, like, I haven't because you can't do Twist of Fate on legendary gear, right? So yeah, you're to your point, Sean, you may not have some of the perks and stuff you want. Like sometimes I just want to wear whatever cool looking boots that help me against Arc Splash, and yeah, like I want that to be. I think to your point, you want that functionality. And maybe where I was going with it is you want it in a way where it's additive, but not required.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that there are some aspects of the game or some items in the game where maybe you don't implement transmogrification in a blanket way, right? Because sometimes you want to be able to look at a Guardian.
Like an exotic's an exotic.
Yeah, like you want to be able to know by looking at that gear what it is, right? And if transmog, like if I could... For instance, it may be deceptive if I go into Crucible and I've transmogged all of my stuff to be like level 1 stuff and I look like a nobody, but I'm wearing the best gear. Like
that'd be fun though.
It would be cool. But that's the thing is like with some exotics,
like
I'm sure
people off.
Like the stag and
they
stuff.
They would see your light level.
The look, but not you can't see your enemy's light level without like going into the roster. And
that's what I was saying. Is going to roster.
Yeah.
But good point. It's deeper in there.
I like that.
But that's I think.
Well, that'd be another thing they would probably
for regular
adjust,
legendary gear. I think that's fine. But for exotics, like it bugs me that you can't. Like some exotics don't change with shaders.
Mm-hmm.
Like
totally.
So many of my outfits are ruined by that.
I can't even change the color.
But yeah, I mean, I recognize
Destin loves your top.
Or like maybe you can't transmog weapons, right? Because those are another iconic.
Yeah, at first
look.
I thought you mostly meant just wardrobe and stuff, but. But either way, I mean, transmog of any kind on even a few things would be awesome. So I think it's the right call.
Like maybe you just make it legendary gear at first and see how that goes.
Yeah, it all goes back to the root of, I think, what you're getting at, right? It is that customization on a deeper level for people who love that. There's people who spend so many hours, to your point, like just optimizing and making spreadsheets with friends. And
that's what's so cool to me is like if I could look, if you had a 320... I use that example, but if you had a 320 primary weapon and you were like, well, I have this 311 that it doesn't, like at first glance, it doesn't look like it, but with this build, I can optimize it so that it is better for this particular situation, and then I'm a god in that particular situation. And you do that for every situation in the game. It just creates this level of engagement that like is basically, at least as I've seen, unprecedented in Destiny, right? Like there are people who've played thousands of hours, but like it would be hundreds of thousands of hours if it was that engaging for those people. And I think that's like I don't have a problem as a hardcore player of games like this. I think you balance and design for those people. In my mind, like philosophically, that's the right way to do things.
Definitely. Thank you, Sean. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean also in terms of like I specifically said deeper RPG mechanics, but that also goes for the storytelling side of the RPG. I would love to see. They proved to us before with Taken King that they can tell stories well and cinematically with great memorable characters and performances. Give me that, but tell me the story that was supposed to be in Destiny 1. I want to know what the Traveler's doing on Earth. I want to know who the Darkness is. I want to know what happened during the collapse. Like these are all things that establish the world of Destiny, which through the course of this RPG we've never got any answers to.
Well, you're only 20% through it according to the plan.
True, but I mean like. Again, philosophically, as a storyteller, I think you should tell a story and have it be self-contained, and then you can build upon that as the game goes on instead of doing 100% over the 100% of the game's lifespan. But like that part in the original campaign when you go to like the moon or something and you find that the Hive, I think it's the Hive, have like taken a part of the Traveler and are like siphoning its energy through this shard.
And then you stop them, and
you stop them, and you're like, oh my god, this is a huge plot point. They've taken the Traveler. That's how they're like infiltrating all this, and literally that goes nowhere. Like that story just ends.
Fragment.
A lot of problems with the core story.
But like. I want to see those narrative threads explored in the RPG aspect.
Obviously the rumor has been a lot of that stuff blew up, and these are the fragments of that, and they're pulling together all these things. We saw a little bit in Taken King. So
but that's what I mean is for Taken 2 I would love to see those things explored.
Of course.
Fran, what about you? What are your wishes?
Man, where to start for Destiny 2 or Year 3 big update, whatever it may be. As a quick recap, I had trouble choosing because a couple things that I always talk about. One is sort of definitely how bosses react and enemies react, right? More reactive. I just always like weak points and, animations, right? When you tag someone in a glowing eye, it explodes out and now they can't see, right? A little of how like the Vex when you pop their head off. More
More
things
Legend
like
of Zelda. Fran wants more Legend of Zelda.
And no, it's
I know what
Metroid,
you mean.
it's
Not
Zelda,
a bad
but they
thing
did
to sort of want to emulate.
I know.
And to be fair,
Yeah.
they've done some of that, right? The Cabal, I mean, the shields, the light shields, when they added those in with the Taken Cabal who like push you back, those physics are awesome. More stuff like that because
Takes you by surprise.
it really does, yeah. And I want more of that, but more that's also clever. Like if I could shoot out that light shield first, so now they can't do it to me. Now I know I can make that jump and not get pushed off. And anyway,
and then
stuff
their
like
whole
that.
mechanic changes.
Yeah. So anyway, wanted to talk about maybe stuff like that. Another huge thing for me has just been there's so many great weapons and switching, between stuff and heavily in PvE, I will say, because I understand the balancing act in PvP. But the point is, weapons wheel or something that, like, seriously, if I want to switch between a sidearm and a shotgun in the clutch, like, why not? But thought a lot about that. That could really change the game. And then, obviously, one of the other big things I always talk about is the time and the convenience of playing and how much joy you get out of every minute. And so, out of all that, that's why I recapped the first two. It's the third one that I'm so focused on. So,
joy.
It is. I spend so much time sitting around, managing, looking for things, using apps that are not made by Bungie. Thankfully, they have the new item manager, which is improving, but it's on a laptop, and it's not in the game. So where I'm going with this is, I really do hope this is what they're working on, but you look at the interface for the vault system, your inventory, all that. It is very glossy and pretty, but man, it takes time to load. It can't even get to heavy ammo in the clutch. I'm like, I pick where to hide sometimes, right? Because that how long it's going to take.
I can't believe that they didn't implement that with the Taken King. Before that, we were even talking give me a way to access heavy, just like with the D-pad.
But these are big things. So my point is, I would love to see, and I'm being specific now, so because we've talked about this a lot, I really want to see a dumbed down, to be very direct, like just like the internet, like Google, whatever it needs to be. I mean, that's super ugly, but you get my point. I want to see just inventory that's super fast, super easy to use, and all of it's there. So on one side, the vault obviously is super important, but just it really is when you think about it. It's rooted in this design that is it's pretty, it's awesome. You can inspect. I mean, I do like that, but they somehow got to figure out how to make that just so fast.
Why do we even have a vault? Why not just let us hold everything on us?
Yeah, you get it. Why do I have to go to the tower or pull up an app? The time required to grab a weapon is absurd, really, because it's punishing, and that's my point. Whatever, I want my invective. That thought to getting it should literally be start, scroll over, invective,
grab it,
got it.
Yeah.
It is nowhere close to that, and that's my point, because that's the stuff for me that really takes away from the game for me. The time that I want to play, and there's all these roadblocks, and I understand how they arrive there. Again, it's a pretty bold.
It's
game.
limitations
well,
of the
especially
engine.
because do you play multiple characters?
I only play Warlock.
Right. But I mean, you have multiple characters.
I have three
right?
Warlocks.
Yeah, so back in the day when I was playing 3, I'm only playing 1 now, and eventually I'll move up my second.
It's the time.
When you jump on and you raid, and then you're like, all right, new character, switch characters, and now I have to move all of the gear that I want to use, with a phone app, it's just really annoying. How can I just not switch them immediately, right?
Exactly. And so the next part of this, obviously, is the weapons you carry and the amount of gear you carry. Obviously, there's a balance there, because the more that they allow you to have directly in front of you, the more confusing it is to find anything, and it becomes very hard to make decisions about what you need to get rid of.
Filters.
Well, yes, but what I mean is I want at least another 3 slots per thing. It's just way too little, if not a lot more than that, especially for weapons, a lot more. But that, again, huge improvement for me. And also, again, a new system that makes it easy to cycle. Think of this, sometimes I'm going into trials, and when I want to go to heavy round, right, I actually am planning where I'm putting the weapon.
The weapons, yeah.
Yeah, because the way they change is they change with each other when you reslot them. So I'll do this little swapping them to get to as close to scrolling over to get there.
I do that for multiplayer all the time, because sometimes you need to switch between shotgun and sniper. You need to be able to do it quick, and then when you go in your menu, it takes time to load, and you need to be able to do it that, especially in multiplayer.
Weapon switching, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to solve this. I mean, I'm sure they've been thinking about it, but that's a big change. Could make a dramatic improvement. Weapon switching, weapon organization.
Inventory.
But the vault, man, again, I'm just trying to reduce the need in time. I just want to play the game. I want to go in the Nightfall and immediately be ready without the apps and the this and the that. It's very complicated. So please solve that. But then part of this that I've been thinking about on sort of the easier to play, the time investment. And I don't know if this is just me, but hopefully not. And I'm curious what you guys think. They really got to nail that status looking for in your roster or something, like of your friends list. Meaning, or even another way, it's solving for LFG as well. But the first step is of my friends. When I want to play like Golgoroth Challenge or whatever, ideally it would just say that like right in my banner or whatever. And you scroll over, that's what you know I'm looking for. And even then, maybe you could put out a beacon, like I'm looking. Something, maybe you prioritize requests, like I'm looking on your friends list.
A lot of MMOs have done this and done it really well. There's no reason Destiny couldn't come up with a mechanic that would work.
I mean, maybe even tie it to the tower, right? Like you can go and by entering the tower, you are basically entering like in World of Warcraft, it was like general chat, right? Or LFG, looking for group, right?
Yep.
But you enter in and you have the option, you don't have to do it, but you have the option of setting a status that says you're looking for group. And if you do that, people can, like, it notifies you or notifies other players in the area or that who are looking or in a queue that these are the players who are in queue and want to do something.
Final Fantasy does that too. You just say, I want to do this thing. You go play the game and do other stuff. And then when a group needs somebody, they're like, hey, dude, do you want to join us? And you just go right into it.
Yeah.
It's a really fantastic system.
But again, to stress, first I'm just talking about with my friends. And I have a lot of, awesome Guardians from the show that have added me. And just to get, like last night, I'm just looking for 6 people to do Golgoroth Challenge. I'm my 3rd character. And it just takes time. That's all. And I know it would be, if I literally went into the match, waited there and put out that beacon, it'd probably very quickly there'd be people who are looking. But instead what happened was, everybody's doing the same thing that we've all done is you start hovering over people's names, inspect, he's in, I think he's there.
Well, also,
you don't know.
It would also give players who want to engage in those activities an option of doing that with people that they don't know. Like, let's say you don't have friends or like people on your friends list. You can engage with people like without having to go to an external site and look for a group that you may or may not go with.
And that's where I think you get into the filters between friends and public and all that. But again, for starters, just with your friends, because those are people you can trust and raid with. We could do the whole song and dance about should raid be matchmaking, but I'm going to skip that part now and just focus on my ability to communicate what I want to do. And again, time saved in Destiny is fun had, because now I don't feel like it's punishing. I definitely skip things all the time because I'm like, it's been 30 minutes just to get into the Golgoroth Challenge. It's just way too much.
It took like 30 minutes just to get a group together today.
Yeah, I'm willing to say that upwards of 30% of my playtime is management, looking for people, etc. And that's way too big of a number when you got people playing 1,000 hours, 300 hours.
Definitely.
No. Yeah. So last point I was going to make is a little off topic to that, but it was just like, it's in the same vein of sort of how easy it is to do stuff. I think they tried to get there with Prison of Elders. But like just a 2-player, a co-op, a something just very simple to like play with a friend. Doesn't have to be 3, doesn't have to be 6. But go through a story mode that is a little more co-op based, or I don't know what the solution is, but 2-player, easier point of entry.
Just more sort of PvE options.
Yeah. Probably that, but I feel like every time I play, it's got to be, the 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally. But it's also not really designed cleverly around 3 people, I would say. And that's a generalization, by the way, but what I mean is maybe there could be some 2-player-esque type mode or challenge or something where it's very specific to 2 people.
Depending on how many people you go in with, you get a different experience.
Yeah, maybe it's just a rotation of 2-player strikes instead of it being the strikes, there. They have other
Prime.
designs. Yeah.
I've never played that strike since Taken King because it's not in the playlist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that was just a general thought. I mean, obviously you can just hop into strike rotations and stuff, but it just feels like it's still missing something with my friends.
Yeah.
So.
Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm excited. They made tons of improvements for Taken King. So if that's any indication, I think that was their first step at, let's take what we have, let's clean it up as much as possible. I will say I don't think you're going to see a ton of big changes like this before this next big update and hopefully September, October next year. But I hope it's really significant for the next one. I mean, and also we didn't even get into what the raids could be. I mean, there's a lot they could be doing.
Kind of going off what you were saying, I think a big part of that would be ditching old gen consoles.
Oh, that's going to happen with Destiny 2. I'm almost convinced that they're not going to do it.
Like you want to give players like a next gen, streamlined, fast experience.
Yep.
Make it a next gen only console.
Yeah, whatever you need to do to get to where we talked about we want it to be, then move on.
Sorry, PS3 and Xbox 360, I love you.
Yeah.
But
no, technology is
10 years old now.
Super important here. Yeah. You can't make one game for every platform. It's very challenging.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining us for this holiday episode of Fireteam Chat. This is our Destiny show. You can support the show by leaving a review on iTunes. And what else can they do, Fran?
You covered it. That's the main one. Get into the comments, have a conversation with your fellow Guardians.
But there's also this really cool shirt.
Yeah, that's right. You can get. Yeah. Hopefully you already got one for the holidays. But yeah, you can get a Fireteam chat at go.ign.com/store. Is that right, Destin?
That's correct.
And as always, you can check us out on our Xbox One app, our IGN One channel, which is an always-on streaming channel. That, of course, is programmatic, but you'll find us there sometimes chatting in there. And then PS4, we're on Amazon, Fire, Roku, and all over the place. So
happy holidays, everybody. Until next time, Guardians out.